So as some of you know, I think it may have been the last video that I put out, maybe the one before, I alluded to changing the hard drive in my Dell XPS 15 because it's an everyday use computer and I just don't have enough space on the 256 gig SSD that came with it. Now originally I had planned to switch it to a Samsung 970 EVO in a 1 terabyte, and I was waiting on Amazon to get more in so that I could get it and swap it out. Unfortunately, at the time of recording this, Amazon still doesn't have any of the 970 EVO that are not used in stock, and I really don't trust buying a used SSD. I mean, if it were a hard drive, it would be different, but giving the limited number of writes on a solid state drive. And I was looking it up. I gave you some wrong information in the last video as well. The 1 terabyte 970 EVO isn't rated for 1200 terabytes written, it's only rated for 600. The speed was correct, capacity was correct, and everything like that. It was just the durability of the drive itself. So I did some shopping around and I found this. It's a WD Blue solid state drive. So this one's a SATA 3 interface, not an NVMe interface. So it's not as fast as the 970 EVO. In fact, the 970 EVO's probably about 7 times as fast as this one. This one is rated for, I think, reads of around 500 or so megabits per second, and the Samsung EVO is rated for about 3,500 megabits per second. I had to contact Dell to see if this would even work, since the slot on my motherboard on my Dell is an NVMe slot, and this is a SATA 3 keyed device, not NVMe. And for those of you wondering what the difference is, there are B and M keys. SATA 3s are keyed B and M. NVMe are just keyed M, I think. But I had to talk with the Dell representative to make sure that my slot, even though it was NVMe, was indeed backwards compatible with SATA 3. They sent me a digital copy of the manual, and the manual says that the NVMe slot in my PC is backwards compatible. So this should work. Key there is should. So those of you wondering why I decided to go with the WD Blue now instead of just waiting on the Samsung, there are a few reasons for that. First of which being I'm horribly impatient and I want my drive now. Second being that even though this one is slower, the speed at which it reads and writes should be more than enough for what I need to do. This one, I don't edit a lot of 4K or higher resolution video. Most of my stuff is in 1080p, so I don't need 3.5 gigs per second read speeds. Also, I play a lot of video games on my laptop when I'm not video editing and stuff like that, and that brings me into the third reason. So this is my everyday use computer. I have a desktop at the house, but I'm never home to use it since I'm at work 7 days a week and I'm usually here between 8 and 16 hours. Since I use this every day and it's going to be my gaming and video editing computer, and storage is just a so much higher priority for me right now than the extra speed is, since this one has enough speed. The 970 EVO is only rated for up to 600 terabytes written on the drive. This WD Blue is rated for up to 500, and I really don't think that extra 100 terabytes is going to make a difference for me over the life of the drive. I mean, I will definitely use 2 terabytes worth of space, and I'll probably overwrite some stuff at some point, but I'm not going to use it enough that extra 100 TBW will matter. This also, I needed more storage on my computer because besides the fact that it's an everyday use and I'll be using it 8 to 16 hours a day at least, it only has the slot for the solid state drive. It doesn't have the slot for like a regular SATA 2.5 inch SSD. So this WD Blue drive for me right now really makes more sense. And it still comes with a warranty just like the Samsung, so if something happens I can send it back and they'll send me a new one. So I thought I would walk you through the process of how I'm going to switch out my SSD for the new SSD and set everything up. First things first, there's a massive disclaimer here. If you haven't done this before, If you're not comfortable with what you're doing, then seek out help from somebody that has done it before, or watch a tutorial video or something like that. I am not responsible if you mess up your computer doing this. Having said that, the first thing that I did, I went ahead and I made a bootable Windows 10 USB stick, which I didn't get on my recording software because I'm an idiot and I set the file type to the wrong type. But I'll put up a screen capture here of the site that I went to, and it's really simple. You just go to the site, you click the download link, it makes the installer, you put in the USB stick, and then you pretty much just click OK and let it do its thing. And then after it does its thing, you've got a Windows 10 bootable USB. You will need one that's at least 8 gigs for Windows 10 64-bit. So keep that in mind when you're making a bootable USB. Next order of business, I'm going to go ahead and take out the NVMe SSD that is currently in my XPS and put the new one in. I'll try to get that on video if I can, and then we'll boot it up, install Windows 10, try to reinstall all my programs so that I'll have everything that I need on my computer. Some of that I might get video of, some of it I might just show screenshots. Now, this isn't the ideal way to do it, but it's really the only option that I have. If I had my way, I would clone the drive and then just put the new one in ready to go. But since my computer only has one NVMe slot and I don't have a housing that'll let me clone this SSD and then put it in, and of course you can't clone the drive that your operating system is currently running on, this is the only option that I have. So in the future, if I ever have to do this again and I get one of those enclosures, then I may very well do that. But for now, this is the best way to proceed. I'll meet you at the computer. Okay, so now that we're at the computer, the first order of business is to take it apart. First thing I'm going to do is take my handy dandy Phillips head screwdriver and take these 2 screws in the middle out, since the rest of them are T5. Next order of business, whip out your T5 screwdriver and take out all of these screws around the edge. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the back cover here off. Now, it does have some clasps on the inside, so be very careful not to break those or anything like that. And then we can get at that NVMe SSD. As you can see here, mine just has the one NVMe slot. RAM's easily accessible, and it has this goop on it to transfer heat. There's also a space on the back slot here where the goop is touching for heat dissipation. I'm going to go ahead and put the goop on there since I know that's where it goes, and then I'll swap out the drive. Goop's on the back panel. Oh, I guess it's thermally conductive tape, but I mean, it's goop. Okay, now we're gonna need a Phillips head to pop off, or to take out this screw here, and then we can access the drive. I probably shouldn't have let it pop up like that, but I'm only doing this with one hand. So now there's our drive. That's all the information on it. I'm going to set this aside. The new drive is also about twice as fast as the one that I'm taking out. It'll help with speed as well. I don't like how they labeled it SSD, so that you know. Here's the WD Blue one. Focus. There we go, in a 2 terabyte. As you may have noticed, this one's a B&M key configuration. According to the manual, it should still work with this NVMe slot. Make sure it's firmly seated. It'll hold itself here. Push it down, and then we're going to take our screw and put it in place. snug, but you don't want to strip anything. Here's the case that the other NVMe came in. Now I'm going to put the old one back in the case for the new one to protect it until such a time as I can do something else with it. Now next thing, normally right now, if it was another NVMe drive and now since as I mentioned before, this drive is being M keyed, being a SATA 3, and it's not just a standard NVMe drive like the other one was. If it were just another normal NVMe drive like the one that came out of it, I would just put the whole thing back together and then turn it on, make sure it recognizes the drive. But since this drive is different, I'm going to leave the back off so that I can make sure that it does recognize the drive, even though the manual said it should work. You should always make sure that it recognizes the drive before putting everything back together, just in case it doesn't and you have to send the drive back or something. It saves you a little bit of work in the long run. Now let's turn it on and see if it recognizes the new drive. It looks like it is indeed recognizing it. Since the first time it booted up, it's running a diagnostic since it knows that the old NVMe drive isn't in it. So now it's going to test the memory, the storage, and everything like that. And it should ask me for a Windows 10 bootable device, which I now have to go get. I'm back with the drive. Wait, that's not the right drive. Okay, I'm going to go get the drive. Okay, now we've vigorously pressed F12 to get to the boot menu. We're going to choose UEFI USB flash drive partition 1. Hit enter to select. Hopefully it'll just take it. I shouldn't have to go through and fix anything in the BIOS or anything like that in order to get it to boot off of the drive. Now once it's booted up and installed Windows and it's running, then I'll go through, put the bottom back on, and put all the screws back on and such. Looks like we've gotten it to the point where I can install Windows. So let's get started. English United States, US, yes. Install now, custom install. Drive 0.
Hi there, I'm Cortana, and I'm here to help. A little sign in here, a touch of Wi-Fi there, and we'll have your PC ready for all you plan to do. Use your voice or the keyboard along the way, and if you'd like me to stay quiet, just select the little microphone icon towards the bottom of your screen. If you need an assistive screen reader, press the Windows, Control, and Enter keys at the same time.
Not a fan of Cortana. Okay, I'm in the United States. Yes. Let it do its thing. Keyboard layout, US, yes. Add a second keyboard layout, skip. The part that I just skipped over was the Wi-Fi, which I'm not going to log into just yet. I'll do that when you can't see the screen. It's asking me if I want to connect to the Wi-Fi now. No. Who's going to use this PC? It's going to ask me if I want to make Cortana my personal assistant. I never do, so decline. It's going to ask me to do more with the device in active history, which I do not want, so no. It's going to ask me which of the settings that I would like, or what I would like for it to collect information on. Ideally nothing, but let's turn off location, turn off diagnostics data, turn off tailored experience, turn off advertising ID, inking and typing I'm going to leave on, find my device, I'm going to leave on because I've got that. That's a handy app to have if your device happens to get stolen when you have to file a police report. Online speech and recognition, I'll leave that one on and accept. Of course, this is kind of just a mock-up account to get it signed in. I'm going to sign into my actual account after the fact Tell me it's almost done. Probably gonna have to set some other things up, and then I'll be able to start installing my apps. After this is all done, I'll go back to the desk, but since all that's left is to install the apps, I'll let this go through, and I'm not gonna go through reinstalling all of my programs and such, because I mean, if you watch this channel, I'm sure you already know how to do that. I guess I'll see you when this is... Well, there you have it, folks. That's the whole process from start to finish, replacing the drive and reinstalling Windows in a Dell XPS 159570. I know it wasn't a Samsung drive like I originally wanted, but given that it was the same price for the Samsung drive, it's still a reputable brand, albeit not as high-end of a brand in my eyes as Samsung. The durability is comparable, the speed is double what I had and more than what I need currently, and it should last me for the life of the computer since it comes with a 5-year warranty. I do think that the WD Blue 2TB drive was the right way to go here. Now, when I started, I originally had 256 gigs. After I downloaded minimal programs on it, I think I had something like, I know I had less than 200 gigs left with Windows and my applications. Now I have 1.8 terabytes to play with, so that's going to be plenty of rooms for games and video files and such. The speed should be faster than what it was before. I got about 8 times the capacity, and overall I'm really happy with the new drive. That's all for today. I hope you found this entertaining and informative. I would like to thank you all for watching, and remember, when the gears start turning, anything is possible.